Hi, welcome to Rocky Mountain Views. I'm Martha Thompson. Now, if you are a regular viewer of our show, you've seen our guests before. They are the co-authors of Slow Parenting Teens, Marty Woodward and Molly Wingate. Now, we're going to be talking to them, but I want to get started with saying that this episode is not to watch with your little ones. Okay, so I can't tell you what to do, but unless you want to answer some questions you're probably not prepared for, watch it with your, by yourselves. Your teens, it's not going to shock them at all, but they'll probably go, ew, and TMI, too much, yeah.
TMI.
So, TMI. So, this is really an adult conversation. We're still going to be discussing the 5 key elements of slow parenting teens, but it's going to be about intimate relationships with your partner and your spouse. So if you think that because you have been with the same person forever and life's happened and there have been kids and stuff and real intimacy, emotional, mental, physical, and mind-blowing sex is over, it's not. So, not for kids. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, because it's not. My life's very good because of these women, people.
Well.
And it's about how we change. There are changes that we make. Mm-hmm. I have incorporated your work with my relationship with my stepdaughter, which was fragile at best. Today is amazing, and I would trade for nothing. It is wonderful. But I've also found that this works in every other relationship of my life. Mm-hmm. But the relationship that is primary to me in my world is with my husband. Mm-hmm. And you know what? If people can get closer and have that level of communication and intimacy, we've got something people in their 20s, if they knew about, would be so jealous they'd hate us. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about bringing those things in.
Great. No.
How do we use those 5 principles? Let's talk about those as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in intimate relationships. So,
well,
ladies.
I'm going to back us up just a tad.
Okay.
Because there's, just as we do in the parenting book, we say, okay, the attitudes are great, but we want to create an environment for them and a kind of an attitude to begin with. And so one question that you really have to answer, ask and answer close into your heart. Do you really want to be that safe place for your partner? So just, to connect it with the parenting thing is, do you want to have that close relationship? Do you really want it?
Doesn't everybody?
No.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so, because if you know everything, and if you are that person, that big catch basin, it opens the world up to have a sustainable, respectful, and fun relationship. But not everybody wants to get that close. So you really have to ask yourself, do I want to be that close?
Okay.
And then the next thing you ask is, what am I afraid of?
Absolutely.
And it's the same question that we ask parents to ask, but what are you afraid of? Is it won't work, I'll be rejected, I'll put all this effort in and the relationship won't work out anyway. I think lurking underneath there is, I'll do all this good stuff and she won't change, and
that's possible.
Well, but the point is that you're going to change.
Yes.
And if you are that big catch basin, you're not asking them to change. No. You're asking them to bring every iota of themselves to the relationship. And that includes things you may not like, but you still have to be open and embracing. Are you really willing to be that accepting?
Well, I think, but, I've got to tell you, that shocks me that somebody wouldn't want that.
Right.
But frankly, I think that the people that wouldn't want that aren't watching anyway. Those aren't our peeps. We love our viewers. Mm-hmm. So yes, it means you're going to make yourself 100% vulnerable. Scary. Mm-hmm. Talk about what am I afraid of? That's huge. There are things to really take a look at. So I love that, and that is important. And it isn't easy. I'm not saying that any of this is necessarily easy. I am saying from my own perspective, having followed this to the letter, it's worth every bit of effort and vulnerability.
Absolutely.
Well,
So-
and I completely, I get why it's kind of a surprise, but I guess I'm really asking for people to prepare themselves, to not just assume that you can walk into the 5 attitudes and it'll all be all right. It's about the journey. You can't necessarily have a destination in mind. I mean, if you say, I want my relationship to look exactly like this, I don't know that that this will take you there. But if you open up to wherever the journey's going to go, that's, I think, where you really have this kind of slow loving or slow intimacy that builds a dynamic, changing, erupting relationship. I mean, I've been married for 25 years to the same guy.
And I think that with what you teach, what you've written, that is a natural consequence with doing this, is that of course you're not going to want to change, because you are honored, I'm honored completely with every flaw that I have as well as every asset.
Great.
So of course I feel completely safe in saying, I love every single flaw that you have and they're all okay. And this is your safe place. That feels great. But I wish we had hours and hours. We've got to get through because I want people to know this is actually possible, because many people, especially that have been married for 25 years, think that after that first awesome blush has been gone, and then the daily grind's there, that this is no longer an opportunity, or that's just something that kids get. So that's what I want. I want you guys to let them know.
Okay.
But the change is here,
Yeah.
where you sit.
Yeah.
So let's talk
Right.
about
So the
what to do.
attitudes. Let's move into the attitudes in terms
Okay.
of an intimate relationship. As far as we are concerned, the key thing to intimacy, and emotional, spiritual, sexual, any level of intimacy, is to stay curious about the other person. I mean, curiosity equals intimacy. And that is stewardship in our model, is being so willing and so open to staying curious about your partner. It's just really wanting to know them and wanting to know how they're different in the evening than they were in the morning. And what have they learned about themselves, and what happened to them that day, and what ahas did they have, and what struggles did they go through. So in terms of intimacy on every level, the first attitude in the model is steward your partner. Pay attention. Care about who they are and how they're different and how they're growing and what they're struggling with. So the curiosity is essential, absolutely essential.
And I like the way that you explained that, because to simply say be curious is not enough. People
No.
need to understand, what does that look like then? What, especially a lot of men, then I don't know what to ask. Besides, she knows what I'm going to say before I say it.
Right.
So what?
How was your day, dear?
You get into that place.
Yeah.
Well,
So
but when you
it's
are
important.
curious, those simple conversations like, how was your day, dear, become an enormous opening, not just a mouthing of a common phrase.
Perfunctory.
It gets really, how was your day? Wow, it's really interesting. And then genuine conversation ensues. So at least that's my experience, and that it's, you immediately get to pay dirt. You don't spend a lot of time on the superficial and the scheduling. I mean,
Excellent.
that's what my life can easily be about. This is who's doing what, who's scheduling what, who's taking care of what.
Sure. It's easy to get lost in the details.
And
We
if-
have to be present to do this, to do what you suggest. But the payoff is awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Indeed. Because when you're curious, and we wrote this for parents and teens will respond The teens will lean in when
Right.
the adults are curious about them. Genuinely curious, not sort of some, I'm practicing being curious, but genuinely curious. And
They
the
spell
same-
phony better than
Yeah,
adults do.
boy, whew.
So
And the same thing happens in intimate relationships, is when you are genuinely curious about the other person, it's almost a magnetic drawing in. People lean into someone else being really interested in them. So that's number one by far, is to start
Okay.
with the stewarding, and if you just practice that, you will see a change in your relationship without question.
all right.
You know, and then you just, you know, kind of just go through the attitudes. And so the next one, I think, is where a lot of people get tripped up in relationships, and that's they start out in the relationship really kind of digging the other person's personality.
Yes.
Really
of course.
liking them, really respecting them. You give them the benefit of the doubt when things don't mesh. It's fun to be with somebody who's maybe a little different than you. And then as 25 years go by, I think some of the aspects of their personality start to irritate you a little bit, and I mean
The blush wears off.
The blush wears off.
Pardon me while I blush.
So I think that the idea of respecting their personality in terms of our model is really that idea of accepting them who they are, and we use that term in such a big way. You know, their personality, their likes, their dislikes, their preferences, their
Learning
styles, their introversion, their extroversion. I mean, there's so much to the way we use the word personality, but it's about not trying to change the other person, but about trying to really know them and enjoy them for exactly who they are. And again, same thing with teens. You know, you may not like everything about your teenager, but if you respect who they are, especially their differences from you, then there's a natural connection that happens. And I think that it's especially true in intimate adult relationships. So I mean, speak to that, Molly, because
Well,
you've
what I think about with the respecting is that it really requires that you turn your judgment button off. You know, that
That's a great point.
that's the key, for me anyway, that's the key, to say, this is how you are, and this is what I signed on for, and not that makes it a weight or a drudgery, but this is all of you. So, well, what is all of you made of? And how does that work? And understand that I don't get to judge it. I can decide whether I want to try it out or not. I can decide whether or not I want to live with it for the rest of my life or not. I mean, you can always make those sorts of decisions. But I don't get to say you're bad or you're wrong
You're not doing it right.
or you need to change, because
Right.
you know,
So you're
at
not
least
doing it
my
right.
what happens when you genuinely are open, when I have been genuinely open and said, okay, well, here we go, I'm always thunderstruck by where we end up. And the openness and willingness that's there to just, okay, here we are, we're on the same team, we're going to give it a run. That same kind of leaning in means that you've got two people moving ahead instead of two people moving parallel. And that's where that
great.
intimacy comes in, and that's where that, real connection. And that's when, I'm going to move on to every day, okay?
You're jumped
You're
every
doing
day,
great,
baby.
Because I think that when you have built a good, solid relationship, the expectation is that every communication is going to be meaningful. There's no such thing as a cursory conversation. They're boring, and one of the things about having a close relationship or a close, intimate relationship is that it's not boring. Right. And so, you avoid boring. But I find that even the shortest conversations, and Marty, you've talked about this too, that, if you've only got 30 seconds, make it a heck of a kiss. Yeah. No cheek pecking. So you can, even when you are busy and even when you do have people going in 12 directions and running 3 businesses and stuff like that. You every day you take the opportunity to make a connection.
Yes.
And actually, it's something my father-in-law gave me early on. Was a little booklet, and one of the things that it said is every day do something for your relationship or for your marriage. And it's either
Smart man.
clear the decks or buy flowers, but every day do something. And because I've known people, you've known people that have kind of let their relationship go on hold.
Yes.
And before they know it, they're miles apart. And it's hard to get back together. And so, every day doing something, making a point of that connection helps keep that arena for, being the person that's going to be the safe place. It keeps that arena open. That's pretty abstract, but, it helps to stay connected. Duh.
I think the way that you explain it makes perfect sense. And I have been in that marriage where I was living that parallel life. And it is the loneliest thing in the world to be with your life partner and feel alone. It's worse by a long shot than being on your own. It's painful.
So I want to jump in with the everyday and connect it back to the teens, because what we say in the book around your teenager is to invite them into an interaction with you every day.
Right.
And so same thing, absolute same thing with your partner, is to make sure that you're making every day that interaction special and meaningful and impactful and important and intimate, but to extend that invitation regularly, even when they say no, even when it doesn't fit, even when you invite the kiss and it doesn't happen. Do it again, do it again, do it again.
Indeed.
It's incredibly important to that you extend the invitation in your relationship. I'm going for a walk. Please join me. Love to have you join me out. Let's go grab some coffee. Let's go to the bedroom and let the kids watch a movie and you and I get caught up. But extend the invitation. And I think a lot of times in relationships, people are waiting for the other person to extend the invitation.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that.
Rather
That's
than-
important. You just hit some serious pay dirt for many, many people.
Yeah, don't be sitting around waiting. And a piece of that too is if your partner is busy or distracted or whatever, don't take it personally. It doesn't have anything to do with you.
No.
You might wish that everything had to do with you, and especially right now, but sometimes that's just not the option. And you say, I'm busy, I'm distracted, I don't feel good, I have a headache, not that one, but the but the idea of saying, I'd like to spend some time with you. I can't really do it right now. Okay, let's find another time. I mean, don't take it as a rejection. Don't take it personally. Just reschedule.
Right.
Or find another option. If it is, I'd really like to kind of get frisky and make love tonight and have some sexual time together. And it's like, oh, I'm just really not in that place. Okay, how about we go for a walk and talk? I mean, it doesn't have to be the thing that you have in your head. It can be, how else can we connect? And again, it's the same thing with your kids. It's you're inviting them into an interaction, and also that's going to circle back to respecting their personality. It's invite them into something they're going to enjoy.
Right.
So invite your partner into something that they're going to enjoy. If your partner does not like going to the ballet, inviting them to go to the ballet with you is not going to be a connecting, intimate invitation. So respect who they are, be curious about who they are, their interests, their preferences. Use the every day as a way to invite them into interactions that are enjoyable and fun for them.
Great point.
Okay, we have 2 more.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
All right. So my absolute favorite, whether you're talking about, intimate relationship or teenagers or coworkers or anybody, is catch them doing it right. I absolutely, the joke in my family is that my perfect job would be the police chief of the Catch 'em Doing It Right squad. It's so much fun for me to catch other people being successful. and accomplishing what they want to accomplish, and and being proud of themselves. I just love it. It's just so much fun, and it's completely selfish because it's fun for me.
That was a huge personal payoff to do
It's
it.
delightful.
Yeah.
And it's much more fun to walk through the world looking for the things that people are doing well.
Oh,
I mean, I would love to run up to the car and hand somebody a $5, you get $5 ticket because you stopped at the stoplight well. I mean,
You're funny.
I want to look for the things and acknowledge the things that people do well and not take them for granted. So especially, the way we've written the book for teens, that's, if it's not obvious, read the book. But for intimate relationships, again, I think that a lot of times that gets dropped. And it started out being something you did very naturally.
And you love to do
And you love to do it.
And now it's,
and
you
now-
forgot to take the garbage out again.
Right. You're starting to notice the things that didn't get done or didn't get
Yes.
done well, or that you wish had been done a little differently, rather than looking for and noticing the things that were done well. And so if there's one suggestion we can give, it's to really pay attention to the things that your partner is doing that you like, and then reinforce that.
And by doing so, the things that may bug you, they might still bug you, but they become so tiny. Because what I see is that Les takes the dogs out and walks them without, it's the last thing I am physically up for, and doesn't even say a word, and does it every day. Every day that he's home. Or whatever. But those are the things that I think about. He's never going to make the bed. It's never going to happen. It is, if I waited for that, I'd be dead. But there's so many amazing things that he does right. And so I don't care about the unmade bed.
Right.
I'm happy to make the bed.
Right. And people will give you, I don't care if it's your teenager or your lover, people will give you material for both columns every day. They'll give you material for you didn't do this right or you didn't do this well, and they'll give you things for you did this beautifully and thank you so much. It's where you are choosing to pay attention. It's not what they are doing.
Well, let's face it, we give them material too.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm going to own it. I give off plenty of material
Everybody
of
does.
what I'm doing wrong.
What we could do better,
Yeah.
what we're not, absolutely, without question. So this is about where do you choose to pay attention in your relationship. And if you look for, and sometimes you have to look, if you look for the things they're doing well, if you look for that, they walk past you and brush the back of your neck as they walk past. And that's something that feels good to you. Just kind of, you smile at them and you say, thanks.
Well, and I am a big proponent of the words thank you. That, one way to catch them doing it right is just to say thank you. Or to say thank you for this particular thing that you did. If you want to hear thank you, you've got to say thank you. And this absolutely works with teenagers. Thank you very much for taking care of whatever it was. Or, that gets beaming responses, especially because teenagers are accustomed to being grouched at, and
But so
and
are
frankly,
partners.
so we're partners.
so
so
are
are partners.
spouses.
So being able to say, I really appreciate that, or it's really nice when you get home in time for dinner. Thanks.
Yeah, don't take things for granted.
Yeah.
Nothing is for granted. So the thank yous come for the things that are everyday commonplace. I love it that you kiss me goodnight every night, whatever it is. But so we can go on about that one for a long time.
And then,
Or that you say, I love you every time you get off the phone. And you mean it.
yeah.
I'm talking to my husband, guys. Okay.
Listening.
And then the last attitude in the parenting model that also applies to any relationship is listen to them. And it's really, again, about listen to their story more than you're sharing your story. And for an adult relationship, often what happens is that you sort of take away their story in an attempt to get them to know you're connecting with them. So they're sharing about their day and you go, oh, and then you sort of take it away. So just as we suggest with parents and teens, is to keep your mouth shut, is to really hear their whole story and to really pay attention to everything they have to share, whether it's 30 seconds or whether it's 30 minutes, is to really be available to the person, to listen to what's going on with them. You'll get your turn.
I have a question about that. And it's either just me, or I think that that's what shuts down a lot of men, because as women, we will hijack the conversation.
Right.
I'm a pro at that one. I have to almost put duct tape on my mouth. On accident, we have a talk show and I'm hosting it. You know, it's really something I've had to work on. Shut up, Martha, and listen. Really listen.
Well, and
honor my husband.
And if you have, if your partner is not of a, like my husband is very, very quiet.
Back at ya.
And so it's important to go back to respecting the personality thing and understand that the first time I say, "How was your day?" might get a harumph. And the third time, you know, and it may take a while to get to a place where he's ready to talk about it. Just because I'm ready to listen doesn't mean he's ready to talk about it. And to, you know, continue, I mean, it's all the attitudes together, but to continue to put that invitation out, and then you may have to wait for some long silences. And a long silence is not, for those of us who are not introverted, it is not an invitation to jump in. The long silence is an invitation to sit in silence and wait. So, you know, part of the listening, I think, with adults is to understand who you're listening to and give them a lot of time and a lot of space if they need it. And if they are, or if they are one of the people that rattle on about all kinds of details that you don't care about, you know, put on your happy face, you know. Get in the saddle, darling, and hang on. You know, it's just going to be that way for a while. But, you know, the conversation, it's so important for somebody, for your partner to know that no matter what, you're going to listen.
So I have an exercise that I would give to couples.
You're going to have to be real quick.
Really quick. And it's to do 3 minutes, 3 minutes. And what happens is, for the person who doesn't talk, the 3 minutes can be agony. And for the person who does talk, the 3 minutes can be agony. So one person has to learn to fill the 3 minutes, and the other has to learn to send on purpose so that they only fill the 3 minutes. Try it and see.
Love it. Again, everybody, this is the book. It's Slow Parenting Teens. If you happen to live in the Colorado Springs area, I'm going to ask you to represent and show up and support local, and go to Poor Richard's. Go downtown on Tejon and pick up a copy. Buy local. Think global, buy local. Otherwise, this book is available through Amazon, and it's available at Barnes & Nobles. Have a great life. Get the book and read it. See you next time.